Hey guys, and welcome back to Breakdown in a whole new area you've never really seen in my apartment. I'm trying to find different areas to shoot videos and things like that. If you hear a noise, it's my dishwasher. Hopefully it isn't being picked up in the video too much, but we're just going to roll it. But today I want to talk about a certain topic, and I like to talk about topics because people, they hear Raw and SmackDown results all the time, and I will give you a brief, review of that at times on this channel. But I kind of like to talk about what ifs, or if we were to do this and we were to do that. And a lot of people always talk about bringing back, a certain brand or a title and things like that. So today we're going to be talking about what if someone were to bring back ECW. And I guess the ultimate thing is who would run it. And I think ultimately people will say, well, Paul Heyman's going to, of course, run it. And I don't know if really he wants to revisit ECW or even want to run a promotion anymore. Now, of course, these people that are GMs of the brands and things like that, they necessarily don't do what you think they do. They really are just a figurehead. And like Daniel Bryan, he was a GM. He really probably didn't do anything. Like, besides helping the people, like, character-wise, I think he might have did that. And I'm going to go get my pop. I'll be right back. I forgot. It's all over here. But ultimately, it's, they're pretty much a figurehead. So Paul Heyman could do it. Or they could get a guy like Tommy Dreamer to do it. And he would kind of probably kind of a bland GM, to be completely honest. So, I mean, my pick, and I think I've talked about this before, is a guy who really has a place in wrestling and where he should be if he would just be able to kind of make his character something new and to come back and be a GM or a manager and be different than what he was in WCW. It would be Shane Douglas. I think he would be a great GM for ECW. Now, the next question I think that we need to ask is, can ECW come back? Would you bring ECW back? And for me, this is how I would bring ECW somewhat back. And this is why I want to preface it with somehow or some way back. And the thing is, ECW is dead. It's not coming back. And the reason because of that is that it was a different time. Now today, just think about everything that's going on with Twitter, social media. You can't do that anymore. You just couldn't do it. The only way you could do it if it was purely on the network. And I think that it would be on the network anyway. But even to make it to where they could show clips on TV and things like that, if something were to happen maybe around WrestleMania weekend, they just really can't go that far. What I think I would call it would be called Revolution. And I thought about this, and that's why I came up with doing this video. Is I came up with the brand name called Revolution. And I think that as far as it becoming ECW, I think that that's the way it would start. And it would eventually evolve into this, fourth brand. Because NXT really is a third brand right now. Even though they are developmental, they are kind of a third brand. You have 205 Live as well, which could become another brand. But I think it really needs like a rebranding with a new name. Maybe like Pride or Honor or, even call it Rush. With Leo Rush being at the helm, being the leader of that brand. I do think that there is a future for cruiserweights. I do think that they could do something with that, and I think they just need to find the right marketing and the right way to do it. I really just think a lot of these things, they just need to take an aspect of it's a show on the WWE network, but we're going to treat it like a weekly thing, and that we're gonna do this, And honestly, I think that for the indie fans, if you had a show like Revolution, it could be like a 1 hour show, and 205 Live could be an hour show. And, if you had, the third show, which probably most likely would be a women's show, you could, record them back to back, and you would probably have a certain base of the crowd that would want to come to that show. So you wouldn't have to book it after SmackDown. You could have you could usually have the dark match that everybody wants to see it after SmackDown, I don't know, like Nakamura would come out and tag with, Jinder Mahal. Who's on there now? I forget. Who's on there now? Nakamura. Who's a heel? Smojo. Nakamura would come out and tag with Smojo, take on Danny Bryan, AJ Styles. Or something like that would happen. Usually like the dark matches or something goofy like that where you get to see the big name stars. And, they do their stuff and the crowd goes home happy. And you wouldn't have to film 205 Live, because I think they're filming it beforehand now instead of after, which technically it's not live, so, but whatever. But anyways, that's what I would do. And if you're talking about like who would you sign to the Revolution brand, well, it would be a whole slew of new talent. That's what I would see happening. I see that if they were ever going to do something like that, it would be just like a slew of NXT talent just gets called up immediately, and a lot of the loser locker room people from, Raw and SmackDown, like let's say they were going to introduce Revolution or a new brand, whatever it will be, but we're going to say Revolution for now. This is how I would bring back ECW. Like I said, ECW, though, it would start out kind of like ECW. They'd be like, oh yeah, Heyman's going to be the GM. Brock has gone away. Brock's maybe he's not going to be. And maybe just say he wins the UFC championship. He's no longer WWE. And Brock wants to focus on being the UFC champion because maybe he found out during his match that, it was a task to be in the UFC and also to be in WWE. He didn't want to do that. So he leaves Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's kind of stuck in WWE. And, they come with this big deal. And Heyman says, if I don't get this, I'm gone. So they give it to him. So he's doing this show, and maybe Shane Douglas is going to be his, counterpart. He runs off of him and stuff. I would get, Raven to be the commentator, Scott Levy, whatever, have him be the commentator with somebody else, maybe a guy like, I don't know, Percy Watson maybe, or somebody like that knows the ring style, but Raven's really there for the wrestling kind of talk and stuff. Put them in the interview role, or even to put Heyman in an interview role with Raven, and then put Shane Douglas as a GM role. I think that'd be interesting too. So you have it start out like that, kind of like getting ECW fans to watch because they know what they're going to get from a product like that. But then you're going to call it Revolution, and then eventually it'll just become its own meaning and have different things. You would have guys, like I would put Ty Dillinger on there. I would put Undisputed Era to come up to Revolution first and make a name over there, make a big bang over here, and then Raw would, Vince McMahon would see him like, oh, what are they doing over there? Oh, we got to get them to Raw. Have them, go and do something over there and make a big name, Aleister Black comes up to Raw because they won't let him go probably anywhere else. But if they didn't see him doing with anything with him, I would put him on Revolution. Apollo Crews goes to Revolution. Mojo Rawley, you can keep him on Raw. We don't need him. Revolution. Put Jinder Mahal on Revolution. I think that would be somebody that's being wasted right now. We saw the potential of him on SmackDown. Whether you liked it or didn't like it, we saw the potential of Jinder Mahal, what he could do. He actually is a pretty good wrestler. He cut a really good promo. And, I think if given the right amount of time to do stuff, he could really put on a dang good program with somebody. Then I think, this would be kind of a calling to certain people on the roster. I think one person that would have a calling to Revolution would be probably Daniel Bryan, because it would be a way to kind of step away from WWE and get a fresher look, and then let the landscape change on the main roster, and then him come back, near the end of his career. Because I know he's near probably the end of his career now, I would assume, getting up there with age. He's going to probably be retiring within the next, 5 to 10 years. So, he could come away and have that experience with going to kind of the indies, but being within the WWE, he can go to Revolution, and that would kind of be a big deal. Him being in there with Undisputed Era and Ty Dillinger, and I'm trying to think who the other people I would send, because I wouldn't send really any. I would send a couple monsters, but not like a huge, like Lars might actually fit in with, because I think if Heyman could do something with him, or the creative could do something with him, that would be interesting on that brand. And then also I would send, guys like, what's the one thing? Not Street Profits, the one guys that people are kind of iffy on right now. Otis and his partner. I'm blanking on their names right now. Send them there, because I think that would be interesting to see them in that atmosphere. They probably would be the big guys that they would do big things, but eventually get beaten in a match. They would be interesting seeing that. The Mighty would fit in really well on there, and eventually go to singles careers on that brand, because after they, made themselves look good, they could go to singles careers, because I believe they were singles. At least I think one of the guys was like a world champion in Australia at one point. I'm pretty sure Shane. I think it was Shane that was the world champion at one point. So he evidently has something. He's got good something. Who else did I bring in from NXT? I don't know if I would focus on a women's division for Revolution, to be completely honest. I think they probably would have to have one, though. If I were them, I would kind of focus on girls that kind of need that exposure, you know. Maybe have Tamina go down there for a year and have her start maybe as the women's champion down there and have kind of people get built up. You know, the girl that's I think she's Russian, I think. She has something, I think, you could work with. And I think if they put her on there, I think that would be interesting. And I think people like Sarah Logan, she would have something to gain by that. And with sending her down there, I think War Raiders might go down there as well. So you'd have a really good stable tag team with War Raiders. Heavy Machinery, there you go, that's the name. And the third team would be the Mighty. And then there probably had to be like at least one more team, but it'd probably be a conglomeration of some single wrestlers at some point win the tag titles. It seems like it always happens at some point during a promotion where you always have these random two single wrestlers get together and create a tag team. And it's usually around a time where they're going to reboot the tag division, seems like. You ever realize that? Because we had Dean and Seth win the titles on Raw. And then all of a sudden now we get all these tag teams really that haven't held tag belts. So it's kind of like a to the tag division, you know, reboot. Okay, here you go, Officer Payne. Anyways, but yeah, that's what I would do. I mean, then you have this fresh blood and people who haven't been given an opportunity to shine on the main two brands, and you have them in that thing. And then you have guys like Cedric Alexander that you can put down there as well. Guys like Drew Gulak, put him down there. And then you got less talent on 205 Live, put new talent in 205 Live that's coming up from the Indies. You know, then it'll give more time to them. And people just don't want to leave 205 Live. They can stay there. Because if they have a fear that they're not going to move on or, you know, go up, you know, guys like Tony Nese, too. Tony Nese would be good, too. You know, and Matt Riddle, you know, I think he looks... Matt Riddle would probably be the one that I would send to another brand within WWE before, you know, because I think this is the thing that they need to worry about, though. If they create that third brand, which I think that they need to have, the third major brand that they're going to create, which I think that if they don't do it soon, I'd be surprised, because they really need to have something for all these wrestlers to go to. And if you're talking about having all these major stars, but yet they need to be the face of a promotion. You know, Finn Balor needs to be a face of a promotion. AJ needs to be a face of a promotion. Who else? Dean and Seth need to be a face of a promotion. You know, you have these guys who need to be a face of promotion. And I think, honestly, you let Finn Balor go to Revolution and let him be the, you know, what do you call it, Revolution Wrestling? I would just call it Revolution World Champion. You know, let him be the, you know, RWC, and, you know, let him hold the title and let him battle guys like Lars Sullivan and, you know, Ty Dillinger and in main event matches, and let him, you know, show people what he could really do. You know, I think that the WWE has a great system, okay? But I hope when Vince passes the ball to someone, they kind of get out of that loop to where every wrestler has to have those certain 5 moves that they do every single time. Now, you can have that for when you go to the house shows, and you can do those matches, because a lot of times the aura of seeing just a wrestler live is great enough. And it really doesn't matter how good the match is, because seeing a wrestling match live is 10 times better than seeing it on TV, because you get to see, you know, the energy pouring out of the ring into the audience. You really get to see the emotion that's happening in the ring from that standpoint. But for all that said, like I said, what do you think? What would you do with a new brand? Because, you know, ECW is dead, but if you could form something and start it like ECW and then let it form into something else, you know, what would you call it? Who would be your GM? Who would be your announcers? Who's the first few guys you would put in the new ECW? You know, would you call somebody down from, main roster. And you got to be realistic. They're not going to let Randy Orton go down there. They're not going to let John Cena. If he's pretty much at the end of his career anyway. I wouldn't even mention him. But they're not going to let some major guy go down there. The only mention Daniel Bryan is because his contract's almost ending. And I don't know how long his contract is going to be up, but every time his contract comes up, you can almost imagine like pins and needles. So if he was said that he wanted to do something, I'm sure that you'd be like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, yeah, we got this guy. They have so many main eventers right now, it's insanity. No pun intended. Which I would put them on Revolution because they fit it right in. Yeah. And so who's dating? I always get confused. Who's dating the person in Sanity and who's? Oh, Nikki Cross is dating. I think Killian Dain. I think that's her man. So yeah, and they would fit in right Revolution because Revolution would be more like a heavy metal kind of wrestling kind of show, and that kind of the aura of ECW like would fit in there. But eventually, like I said, it would turn into something else and be more of a wrestling product. And SmackDown's pretty much a wrestling product, but I think that they need something else that's different from that other people. And plus, you got NXT. You got to think about this too. Is also NXT. But I mean, they're not only going to be for WWE. They train there. They can go anywhere else. But they train like producers. They train announcers. They train all these other people. Where are they going to go? And they're training these people like very, very quickly. So I'm assuming they're all going to have that role to go out and go anywhere they want to. But wouldn't WWE want to use them in their company? They put all that money into them, and sometimes they pay their way to get through, I think. So that would be kind of interesting to see what happens in the next 5 to 10 years in WWE, because that's why I keep talking about this, because with so many big name stars coming in and they're signing so much indie talent, I don't know if they're planning on purging the roster, and if they're thinking about like how old the roster is. Because a lot of the older independent stars that are there, they're the top guys right now. Who knows how long they're going to last? They could break at any moment, or maybe they think they're going to run out of stories for them. But really, if you're a true wrestler, you're not going to run out of stories. You just got to put them in the right thing, let them wrestle, and I think that's what WWE needs to do. But anyways, leave your comments down below. What do you think about Revolution, this new brand that I thought about bringing back, Raven, and to do commentary and. Shane is a GM, Paul Heyman on the announce team with Raven, just so Heyman would have a place within the company, and he would also kind of help out backstage a little bit, probably. But for the most part, he would probably just be a figurehead for the brand. He would be a lot, kind of like a Jim Ross for the brand, kind of like that, where he would kind of figure, who they should bring in, who's not working, who's not, things like that. Creative, can't do anything with Ty Dillinger. Hey, we can't do anything with this guy, which. I don't know why you can't do anything with Ty Dillinger. He can wrestle like mofo. Anyways, there you go. There's my comments. Anyway, comment, subscribe. Well, I forgot how to do my outro. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good jazz. Hope you guys liked the video. Put comments down below what you thought about what I said in my comments and all the questions I asked. And I'll catch you guys later. If you have a certain topic you'd like me to dive into next time, leave it down below. Keep rocking and keep on watching wrestling. Later, guys.